What if a part-time, semi-professional team got promoted to League Two and made it onto a FIFA title? Well, that actually nearly happened in real life almost 10 years ago. Rewind the clock to May 2016, and I'm sure you'll be aware, but just in case you're not, FIFA's career mode in England goes down to the 4th division, League Two. The level below that, though, is where we're directing our attention today. The National League, commonly known as the Conference, was at the time a division made up of recently relegated League Two clubs and the top end of England's part-time semi-pro teams, the elite tier of England's non-league system, and the final step before reaching the EFL. Most of the time it's full of former League Two teams throwing the chequebook at a return to the Football League, but in the 2015-16 season, a part-time team managed by a PE teacher on one of the lowest budgets in the division set about upsetting the apple cart. Braintree Town miraculously finished third in the league that season, qualifying for the playoffs and earning them a shot at promotion. With average attendances of around 800, the idea of a semi-pro town team actually making it into the EFL was entirely possible, though they'd face off against Grimsby, a side steeped in history, absolutely desperate to return to the Football League. The first of two legs was away at Blundell Park, on paper the tougher of the two fixtures, but incredibly, Braintree, known as the Iron, came away victorious courtesy of a calm Kenny Davis penalty. 90 minutes separated the part-time minnows from the playoff final at Wembley, and with 20 minutes to play, the Iron were almost there, but a reckless shirt pull inside the area led to a Grimsby spot kick. With 15 minutes remaining in the tie, Grimsby would convert the penalty to send the game to extra time. And with the penalty shootout looming, Grimsby swung a long free kick into the box. The goalkeeper came for it, but made a mistake, misjudging it entirely. Tom King, on loan from Millwall, miscalculated the path of the ball, and Grimsby's Omar Bogle got his head to it to send the Mariners to Wembley, where they would go on to defeat Forest Green Rovers in the final, meaning they were promoted to League Two, and obviously meant that they were going to be on the next FIFA instalment, FIFA 17. One of many people's favourite FIFAs in recent history, and Grimsby were on it. And that was it for them. But what was next for the club that lost out, Braintree Town? Well, they fell back into non-league obscurity, actually got relegated the next season, and have never come close to earning promotion ever again. But what if things had gone slightly differently? What if Braintree had won that second leg at Cressing Road and gone on to win at Wembley, erased that penalty decision and erased the goalkeeping error? This is a very real possibility of what could have happened. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be answering that very question in this video. Welcome to something I never thought I'd be saying, a Braintree Town career mode. This is going to be a storyline driven save where we get creative and explore what could have been all those years ago. So sit back and enjoy as we embark on this adventure with the Iron. Following the promotion, the shift from a part-time model to a professional full-time outfit hit the club hard. Necessary ground improvements and high running costs meant that the board of local businessmen felt they were no longer capable of funding the club, and against their will, the Iron entered administration. The appointed administrators took ruthless action, culling both the playing squad and backroom staff, stripping the business to its bare assets. No players, no squad, no sponsors. Things were looking bleak for Braintree. In need of a manager, the club looked to appoint a recognised footballing name who could have an instant impact. Enter Paul Konchesky. The Essex resident, former England international, ex-Liverpool man, has signed on the dotted line. He held coaching roles locally with Billericay Town and Colchester United, and the board felt that that was sufficient enough a CV to bring him in as manager of Braintree Town. With the manager sorted, there were still no players, and that meant no pre-season. In a desperate bid to cobble a squad together, they attended an exit trial full of young players recently released by higher level academies and local sides. The aim being to offer contracts to literally anybody half decent that they see on the day, but also in the knowledge that they won't have the budget to go after more of the standout players from the trial, as they know that other Football League scouts are in attendance. Having watched attentively and took notes on most of the players, the board compiled a list of names that they felt they might be able to persuade to join Braintree Town, currently an empty squad, but they also know that players of a high valuation are likely to be snapped up by clubs with a more stable financial structure. It's worth noting that back on FIFA 17 the youth academy was empty at the start of every career mode, so we had to move swiftly, scraping together 3 bottom tier scouts to go and find us some youngsters before the season begins. Understandably though, the board have virtually zero expectation for us this year aside from keeping our heads above water in the relegation battle that would see us fall back into non-league if we failed. A couple of players that we identified from the exit trial did agree contracts, and we began putting the initial building blocks down to finally sew a squad together ahead of the start of this EFL League Two campaign. We still needed a good few bodies through the door though, and our youth scouts brought back a pair of Englishmen first of all, Jordan Morgan and Nicholas Allen, the first to be brought into the youth academy. Our Northern Irish scout struggled though, bringing us the very low overall Kevin Hogan and James Crow, who we assume is his son, looking at his name there. That's an interesting one. And finally, our third scout returns from the Highlands with a set of brothers. Both Malcolm and Dave McKeith join up, and thankfully one of those lads can play between the sticks. So 6 players into the academy, all very young, probably not prepared for senior football at all, but we've got no choice. With mere days to go until the start of the season, we need to sort out first team forms for every player here just to form a starting 11. And as we hit match day, it's not good news. Only 5 of the contracts have been sorted. We're short of numbers. One of the Scottish brothers, David, hasn't agreed terms yet, meaning we've only got 10 players signed on. Left with no choice, the manager, Paul Konchesky, has decided to lace the boots back up for our opening match of the season in these emergency circumstances. Safe to say his best days are behind him, but with that, let's run you through the 11 players that are going to be starting Braintree Town's League Two campaign. Obviously McKeith in goal, we've got Reiner, a Peruvian, Warder, an Egyptian, probably the pick of the bunch from the trials, Bakayogo, the now registered player manager Paul Konchesky in at left back. We've got a Bulgarian midfielder, Georgi Gadjev, who'll be alongside a 38 overall Kevin Hogan. Not looking brilliant there. 16-year-old Nicholas Allen could be a little gem from the very low overall crop of players. On the opposite flank, we're looking at Jordan Morgan, 43 overall. In the 10, James Crow, supposed son of one of our scouts, and leading the line, the Canadian Sam De Souza Vitoria. Great name. So that's the list of names, and here is how we will line up in terms of formation. McKeith between the sticks, obviously, behind a flat back 4. Not a great deal of quality across the board, but especially lacking in midfield. So we've tried to pack it out numerically with a 3-man triangle. The star boy, or I guess the closest we've got to one, in his natural position at right midfield. Nicholas Allen there with our Canadian in up top. So finally, after all of the off-season turmoil, after scraping the barrel for players, Braintree Town are ready to kick off the League Two season with things starting at Brisbane Road, the home of Leyton Orient. A group of unwanted youngsters picked up from an exit trial along with some academy players only brought to our attention days before the match, including one of the backroom staff members' sons. The manager starting at left back, not a single substitute available today. This really is as bare bones as it gets. We rocked up sponsorless in shirts without names on, to the point where we only had the one kit available in time for the game. Leyton Orient have been forced to play in their away strip despite being at home. It's controversial, but the officials have allowed it to go ahead. It's chaos behind the scenes, but the important thing is the Iron are ready to kick off the campaign. So here we go. It all starts here. Come on, you Iron. It's a miracle that we've even managed to get this game on, but early doors, despite being more or less written off as a Nepo kid, James Crow is actually looking somewhat lively in that central attacking midfield role, finding a yard of space, firing an effort. It's not a million miles wide of the post. And on the half-hour mark, Braintree Town win a corner, and we know that we'll probably have to make the most of the slim opportunities that we will get in these games. We know that we're nowhere near the level of the other teams in this division, but Nicholas Allen strolls over to take it. Whips it in to the centre of the box. It's not a bad delivery. It's headed down. It falls to the feet of Crow. Hits it on his weak foot and it's into the back of the net. Unbelievable. James Crow, of all people, brought into the club purely on merit of his dad being a scout, looks to have already repaid the faith in him. It's unlikely. It's unbelievable. But Braintree Town hold a shock lead over Leyton Orient, and it's Crow with the Irons' first ever Football League goal. As expected, though, the hosts were on top for the remainder of the first half at least, but we clear that one away, goalkeeper sort of scrambling at it and eventually hacking it clear. Leyton Orient 1-0 down against a newly promoted side that a couple of days ago didn't even have close to a full team registered on their books, and we managed to eke that lead out until the break. Surely we couldn't hold on for another 45 minutes. Well, the fact remains we are in front, but as we expect they would, Leyton Orient stick it on us. A little bit of a defensive mishap allows them through, but it's a great stop from our goalkeeper to parry that one away. Konchesky clears, but the pressure would remain. They launch one towards the edge of the box. We're lobbing bodies in the way of it, and eventually it's Bagayoko with the block. He chucks himself in front of the strike. but we're looking at it. I think we've absolutely gotten away with one. The referee hasn't deemed that to be handball, but we'll take anything we can get. Into added time, the gaffer diverts a cross away, out for a corner, and this is it. It looks like we might actually be able to do it and earn 3 points on our Football League debut. Into the box it goes, brought down by the man in the middle. We can't get it away. Is the shot going to come in? It is. What a stop by Malcolm McKeith. We eventually hack it clear, but that save, tipping it onto the post, a match-winning save potentially, is absolutely unbelievable from our Scotsman. The pressure wouldn't end. They have another corner. Surely it's too late for them to find anything now. It's whipped in. What's the result going to be? It's headed up, not necessarily away. Eventually we scramble it clear, and there's the full-time whistle. Absolutely miraculous. The referee signals an end to the match, and to the surprise of absolutely everybody, Braintree Town come out victorious. A threadbare squad, sewn together from scratch in a matter of weeks before the season began. No pre-season, no sponsors, no prep, and the lads were still learning each other's names when they got in the dressing room. It's a fairy tale start, a story of spirit for what was ahead of kick-off, an unfathomable feat. Paul Konchesky's Iron walk away with all 3 points. So that's match day 1 done and dusted, and I would say back on the training ground, but it's actually the first time these lads have trained together as a group. Some of the lower overall players amongst the squad getting some drills to try and bring them up to speed a little bit, but it was important to get the practice in, because our next test in our next game, well, it's going to be a tricky one, let's just say that. It's the start of the EFL Cup, and yeah, against Fulham, a championship side. I think we could be in for a drubbing here. Our second game as a professional team is a bit harsh, and to add to the frustration, the lads aren't fully fit. The only change being Dave McKeith coming in at right back as Konchesky steps back from the pitch, with Nicholas Allen now assuming the captaincy role at just 16 years of age. So we head to Craven Cottage to face a Fulham side led out by none other than Scott Parker. I think the levels on the pitch are going to be fairly evident tonight. All we can do is club together and try and give a good account of ourselves and just try to avoid absolute embarrassment. We're tired, we're shattered, but still running off that high of that amazing result on match day 1 in League 2, but I think it could be a little bit of a different story tonight. Let's just see how things go as we kick things off here. The game got off to a ropey start as they play the ball forward into our half. Reiner dives in to try and win it, but it works its way back to Jordan Tunnicliffe, and that is an unstoppable finish right into the top corner. That's some strike from distance. Unfortunately, nothing that we could do about that. You can't point fingers at the goalkeeper, but it would go on to set the tone for the remainder of the match, really, with the host practically spending the whole game in our half, peppering us with shots, and they work it forward again towards our box. Thankfully, Warder does well there to see that one out for a corner, but in the second half it was much the same. The hosts coming forward, looking to break down our back line, and there's not really much we've got in the way of it other than the two Scottish brothers there combining well to deny them and keep the score at 1-0. A good block by Dave and a good save by Malcolm. Those two trying everything to keep us in this game, but Fulham go on to win a corner, delivered into the box, well claimed by the keeper, and then we look to launch it up the field, and I don't even know how to begin describing what goes on there. It's just an absolute calamity of errors at the back. It results in Fulham doubling their lead. The defender's in the way, there's players flying across the box. Eventually it trickles over the line. Doesn't matter. Try and put that behind us. And with our lack of stamina, these through balls are easy for them. But it's another good stop by our man in net, Malcolm McKeith. Keeps the score at 2-0 for now, but you can imagine that's how the remainder of the game went. They camped us onto the edge of our box, and eventually former Chelsea man Thomas Callas gets on the score sheet right before the end as we roll over into additional time to make it 3-0. Honestly, it's a scoreline that probably flatters us. It felt like an entirely one-sided contest, and so that is us sufficiently dumped out of the EFL Cup at the first stage, and it was the expected outcome. Let's be honest, Fulham progress, Braintree Town, no more EFL Cup games this season, we're out of it. And that will bring us towards the closure of this episode on a slightly sour note, but let's not forget the miraculous way we started this season. And James Crowe was the man who got the Irons' first Football League goal, and he will win this episode's Player of the Episode award. I want to be doing this for each video, and I think you can say it's well earned. James Crow in that number 10 position with a historic moment for himself and for the football club. It's got to be him. The other match was pretty much a write-off, so we'll focus on this one to end it on a positive. But the man that grabbed the Irons' first ever Football League goal in that 1-0 victory away at Leyton Orient, his name will forever be in the history books. But that will wrap things up today. Let me know if you guys want me to continue this story where we'll bring in new players and maybe finally have a bench, who knows. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers and bye bye.